On the 26th of July 2018, physics stopped working. Nature has created what science considered impossible for decades.
An explosive wildfire burned through several Northern California communities, killing firefighters and destroying dozens of homes.
It's not just fire, it's a monster, 5 kilometers tall, capable of melting steel. The wind speed inside is 230 kilometers per hour. The city didn't have a chance.
Equal to an F3, possibly an F4 tornado that you would see back east. The only difference is they estimated the temperature in these tornadoes to be 2,700 degrees.
It has long been known the Sacramento Valley is a natural cell. The mountains trap the hot air inside, turning the entire space into an oven.
I just had that pause, that moment where I looked up at that fire tornado and I was just in awe of it. It almost looked like something out of kind of a Marvel movie where it was spinning real slow and things are catching on fire.
It has long been known a person has no defense against such power. Today, we will follow the trail of this dragon to understand how an ordinary spark created the end of the world. Look at this area. The Sacramento Valley is a natural cage. The mountains lock the hot air inside.
Extreme heat, bone-dry brush, and powerful shifting winds.
Got about a 100-foot wall of flame coming down.
As flames torched block after block, burning embers blew hundreds of yards over the Sacramento River into Ready, a city of over 90,000.
Came over the radio saying there was a vegetation fire at Whiskeytown near the Carr Powerhouse. And I left headquarters before the page was finished going out over the air. And I could already see a plume, and that was concerning, that there was that much smoke already. And when I got on scene, there was fire on both sides of the road.
5 years of drought have turned these hills into a powder keg. The air became so dry that it began to suck moisture from all living things. People in Redding did not yet know that their familiar world was living its last hours. The need for safety made them believe that the fire was far away. But the air has already changed. It became so heavy and dry that every spark could turn into a thermobaric explosion.
Those racing to evacuate found roads completely jammed amid thick smoke and towering flames.
People were screaming.
Retired hotshot Tom Mahan helped save a friend's home and still seemed in shock.
It has long been known that in such heat, nature itself prepares fuel. Every tree in the Sacramento Valley has become a fuse waiting to be lit. The fire wasn't just getting closer. He surrounded the city on 3 sides, using the mountain ranges as the walls of his giant furnace.
Until about the second night, it came out of there on us.
Our priorities very quickly shifted from containment right there to, hey, we need to go save the people in French Gulch. That's our priority here.
The wind began to change direction. This was the first sign that the fire had ceased to be just a force of nature and had begun to create its own atmosphere. In the eyes of those who remained, only one question was read: how could this happen here? The answer lay in one small mechanical failure. The bus continued driving along Highway 299. The driver did not hear how the process of destruction had already begun inside one of the wheels.
Extreme heat, bone-dry brush, and powerful shifting winds.
Got about a 100-foot wall of flame coming down.
As flames torched block after block, burning embers blew hundreds of yards over the Sacramento River into Ready, a city of over 90,000.
Friction, heat, metal fatigue. There are only a few seconds left before the explosion that will change the history of the city forever. It has long been known, in such extreme conditions, technology is the first to fail. This was the spark that this powder keg was missing. The point of no return has been passed. At 1:29 p.m. local time, Redding's fate was sealed. The security deal was canceled.
Firefighters say they do have a pretty good idea right now. They think it was a broken down vehicle on the side of the road. That just goes to show that at these types of conditions, it really doesn't take much at all.
The fire began to spread at a speed that had not been recorded before. He jumped over roads and rivers, ignoring all barriers created by man.
The fire was rapidly moving out from the first unit that arrived at scene. And we could see a pretty good column from here, down here at our headquarters. So we realized it was an expanding incident pretty quickly.
It has long been known, when a fire of this magnitude gains strength, it ceases to depend on the wind. It begins to create it itself. The energy of the fire became so colossal that the atmosphere above the valley began to change its structure.
as far as 5 and 6 miles ahead of the fire. So we moved our evacuation zones out to 6+ miles, which essentially was taking out the entire west side of Reading.
As we're abandoning our instant command post in Buenaventura as the fire is rolling.
The crews were already in position, but none of them understood that an ordinary fire had just turned into something else. The security deal was finally canceled.
Alert and got all available resources. We plan ahead, we knew it was coming, but the way fire works is sometimes unpredictable, as these two gentlemen will tell you. And we went from hours of time and preparation to barely a few minutes. We had officers going to every single household with either U.S. Forest Service law enforcement, Cal Fire law enforcement, the Reading Police Department, the Sheriff's Department. If it had a badge, it was out a door and getting people out of the way.
Research confirms that the fire column pierced the troposphere and rose 12 kilometers. This is the altitude at which transatlantic airliners fly. Fire became weather.
Pretty soon we had a whole air show up there. There was a dozer out on the ground. Cal Fire asked us almost right away to deploy dozers, and we gave that permission as soon as we were asked.
Fire was really doing what we had seen in the past, the initial day. However, as rapidly as it grew was something that was a little bit different.
It has long been known. Winds of 230 kilometers per hour destroy houses, even before the flames touch them. This is the power of the EF3, locked into one fiery vortex of pure hell. The city had no choice but to wait.
Monster, if you will. That sound, that smell, that is a takeaway for me, definitely. I knew at that point that we were going to be dealing with something that it was going to be all hands on deck.
Some of the experts that have been studying the Carr Fire are saying that we probably saw anywhere from 3 to 5 tornadoes. We've never seen any to the scale that we saw out there. And some of those tornadoes, they were classifying those as equal to an F3, possibly an F4 tornado that you would see back east. The only difference is they estimated the temperature in these tornadoes to be 2,700 degrees.
Roger Moore, our chief of police, was out in his uniform talking to somebody, and once he knew the flames were here, he went on, knocked on every door, made sure everybody got out safely.
As that fire-nado took the west side of my River Ridge neighborhood, I came back into the neighborhood about 30 minutes after that firestorm went through and saw the rest of my home.
Oh, what seemed impossible has become reality. Physics didn't work here. In the very heart of the funnel, the steel flowed like wax. It was the absolute destruction of matter by a force against which there is no defense. The city has lost communications, electricity, and hope that this nightmare will end quickly. Every second here turned familiar things into useless dust.
And we just couldn't keep up. It literally was a war zone. Fighting structure fires and a wildland fire at the same time, trying to protect the exposures and then move on to the next ones. And then when you came back to check those ones that you just saved, now they were on fire. For a while, it was a losing battle.
Jeremy Stoke was on holiday, but has returned. His last signal, Mayday, at 1939, was the end of his journey. He became the first firefighter in history to be killed by a fire tornado. His sacrifice saved hundreds of lives. This is the highest price to pay for underestimating the fury of nature. We must remember every name on this list because they stood in the way of the monster until the very end. People returned to the ruins of their lives, finding only charred metals and family heirlooms. Reading will never be the same. These small victories over the fire were the only thing that gave people the strength to start over in a city that had changed its destiny forever. Nature will return its due, but we must learn a lesson. Subscribe to know the truth. The deal is completed.